Okay, so welcome everybody to a real conversation that we're going to have about mental health tonight. My name is Nikki. I am part of a team called Collective Co. Super proud to get on tonight. This is a topic that is near and dear to my heart. Mental health is something that I have suffered for a long, long time, but really significantly in the last 9 years. I have been a police officer for the last 26 years, but 9 years ago, I woke up one day and just could not function and could not talk properly. My parents couldn't understand what I was saying, and I've never returned to work since. Just my life completely changed. And I was within 24 hours diagnosed with chronic post-traumatic stress disorder from my work in the police force. And then over time, I've been diagnosed with a number of other mental health conditions, kind of off the back of post-traumatic stress disorder. And yes, it has really impacted my life. I'm a single mum. I have a little boy, Harper, who is 9. He is my world. And I have an amazing community who you're going to get to meet a few of them tonight, who have been very, very brave to come on and share their stories because, as you will know, mental health is something that not everyone is brave enough to speak about, and sometimes there's just not enough information out there and enough understanding about. And if you do suffer from any kind of mental health condition, one of the words that or sentences that people say a lot to you is, I understand. And I hate hearing people say that to me. I totally understand because the first thing you say is, no, you don't. Because a lot of people don't understand because it's a very, even though you might have the same diagnosis as somebody, it's a very individualized thing as well. So we're going to really give you some real stories tonight, some real experiences. We hope that we can have a bit of a connection with you, but this is a really safe, supportive conversation. And just before we got on, I really thank the girls for coming on and doing this because I think it's very, very brave. So if you can give them some encouragement in the chat, I think that would be really lovely because they are going to be really vulnerable and share, their personal stories. We're going to be honest, raw, very human with you. You are not going to maybe understand, agree, or resonate with everything that you hear tonight. But all we hope is that maybe you walk away and there might be one thing that you hear that hits home for you, or maybe it might not be you, maybe it's your best friend or your husband or your sister or your child or something like that, that potentially this might help you help them or help you help yourself. That's what we're here for. We are not here to replace your doctors or your medical teams or anything like that. We're going to talk about some different experiences that we've had with mental health. We want to talk about how it's impacted our daily lives. And I think the best way we can do that is, so often that you pick up, you can go on Google, you can go on ChatGPT, you can read things all the time, and doctors give you things to watch or read, and they're like medical journals. And for me, it has never fully explained the impact that things have on life. And what I often tell people that they need to do is they quite often we go into a doctor's office and how often do you go in and they go, you've got 10 minutes. That's what the appointments are with your GP now, 10 minutes. Really, what can you do in 10 minutes? So they ask you within that time to, okay, what's on your mind? How can I help you today? So they want to know at the top level what's wrong with you. So you go, well, I'm depressed. I'm anxious. Now, through the last 9.5 years and everything that I've learned over the last 9.5 years on this journey that I've been, it is really actually taking things to the next level and showing people and explaining to people, because people do not understand because they haven't been living it. No, I'm not just depressed. What does that mean? What does that mean in terms of depressed? If could someone put things in the chat, like what is something else that you could say you feel if we actually take it down to symptom level? So you might sit there and go, I have insomnia. Okay, so that is like a diagnosis, right? So I don't want you to diagnose. I want you to actually list the symptoms. I want you to explain, like to the point someone explained to me, was talking about weight gain the other day and how they feel bloated. And they were saying, even when I bend over to go and try and tie up my shoes, I can't reach my shoes and it's so uncomfortable to try and tie up my shoelaces. I just feel terrible. Like, I want you to give me that level. So don't let people corner you into the diagnosis level. Actually tell them exactly how you're feeling. So like what you're saying here, I can't get out of bed in the morning. Like that's exactly, it's impacting your daily life to the point that you can't get out of bed in the morning. I'm feeling sad and confused. I'm in a deep, dark hole. Depressed is the body needing deep rest. Yes, absolutely. I feel overwhelmed. I'm unable to do daily things. Like what? Like what can't you do? I'm exhausted. Yeah, I feel lonely. Crazy. Yep. I feel stuck, confused, memory loss all the times, things I should know, not feeling myself. Yep. Lonely, that when you are around people, no one can see you, crying, vulnerability, bad thoughts. Yes. So these are the things that we often don't talk about because we get put into those 10-minute gaps. Does this make sense? Comment yes if you're understanding what I'm saying. Is that sometimes people make us talk to the diagnosis level and we don't actually get to talk at this level where we start talking about how it is actually impacting our life and explaining to people exactly what has happened and then how is this impacting our life and then what are the flow on effects of that. Okay, I'm exhausted, I can't get out of bed in the morning. Well, what does that mean? Well, now I'm not able to feed my child in the morning. Like my child is now getting themselves breakfast, and now I'm struggling to get them to school. So then, all of a sudden the kids aren't turning up at school on time, and then all of a sudden the teachers are on your back because your kid's not turning up at school. See how there's flow-on effects as well? So this is small steps that we can do, but it's really important to explain yourself to that level, and be heard. Force yourself, advocate for yourself, and fight for yourself to be heard at that level, because we are forced to talk at the other level, and I don't think that that is fair. We're not being heard at the right level. Do people agree with that? Yeah. Okay, so just moving on now. These are the top 10 mental health challenges for women. I'm sorry if there's any men on here today. Now, these are actually these current stats for Australia. Now, anxiety is the biggest one. Now, if we actually look at the things that they break down here, they talk about constant overthinking, feeling on edge, racing thoughts, and difficulty switching off. So in Australia, around 44% of women report anxiety or generalized anxiety symptoms. 44%. That is huge. Now, I mean, I know I don't know if anyone else has had anxiety or anxiety attacks. I've had a number of trips in the ambulance with anxiety and panic attacks. It feels like you're having a heart attack. It's bloody scary, and it is one of the most common issues globally. Women actually experience it more frequently than men, and this is the number one mental health challenge at the moment. The second one is depression. So low mood, loss of motivation, feeling flat or numb. What about those just getting through the day? Yep, who's felt like that? Just getting through the day. All right. Now, this one is often linked to hormonal challenges, life transitions, and burnout. Now, this is a big one because for me, I know that my brother actually said to me that, in terms of you getting your PTSD, do you think that is because you saw terrible things? And I said, yes, but I was burnt out. So just because I saw terrible things, that wasn't it. I was burnt out. Anyone could get this. And there are so many people that are so close to burnout. In fact, burnout is actually number 3 on the top 10 list, burnout and emotional exhaustion. It's not always diagnosed. This is the scary thing, and it's huge. Feeling constantly drained, carrying everyone else who feels like that. No time for yourself. I can't keep up. That feeling where you can't keep up with life. Strongly linked to work plus parenting plus mental load. Sleep deprivation and a pressure to do it all. This one is massive. Number 4 is hormonal mental health. Very relevant here to Nicole's story. She's going to be talking about this. So perimenopausal anxiety and depression. It's often misunderstood, this one. PMS or PMDD, they call it, mood swings, postnatal mental health, which Amber's going to talk about. Over 1 in 3 women in perimenopause experience anxiety or depression. Okay, how many people in this chat, in this group here, have gone through or are in the middle of perimenopause or menopause and have thought they're going crazy? And I can tell you a lot of women are misdiagnosed in perimenopause, go, you've got depression, and are put on antidepressants straight away and not actually thought you are in perimenopause. Okay, it's wrong. Okay, number 5, Amber is going to talk about this postnatal depression and anxiety. So feeling disconnected, the guilt, overwhelm, a loss of identity. It's often driven by depletion, sleep loss, and a lack of support. Number 6 is bipolar, mood disorders, and complex mental health. So Sandra's story is going to be very powerful here. Extreme highs and lows, difficulty regulating emotions, and an impact on thinking, memory, and identity. These conditions are less common, but they are deeply impactful. So, yes, a big one. Now, this one here, you wouldn't think for a lot of people that they would see this as a mental health challenge, but it is. Body image, self-worth, and confidence. It is a mental health challenge. This is rising rapidly at the moment. Around 39% of women report body image issues. This is really important for our young girls that are growing up and coming into this society right now. Negative self-talk, comparison, feeling that they're not enough. I see this in adults in our team comparing themselves. I do it. I compare myself to other people. I'll admit it. I do it all the time, probably every day. And I have friends and people tell me all the time, stop doing it. But I do it. I can't help myself. Sleep issues is number 8, and it's often overlooked. Trouble falling asleep. Why do you think that this is one way people get tortured? Sleep deprivation, right? It is actually a way of torture. Waking up during the night, not feeling rested. Do you know around 30% of women report sleep-related issues? Sleep and mental health are tightly connected, and we have so many women come to us, and men, that are trying to lose weight and say, oh, we cannot lose weight. I can tell you right now that you cannot lose weight if you are not getting deep restorative sleep. because you are not being able to regulate your cortisol levels, your stress hormone, and you cannot lose weight. So there is a link there. Now, how about this one? A couple of people mentioned this when I asked you to talk about symptoms. Number 9, loneliness and disconnection. Feeling alone when surrounded by people. Someone actually mentioned that. A lack of real support, disconnection from self. Around 1 in 3 women report loneliness as a major stressor. How sad is that? And number 10 is financial life and pressure. That's a kind of stress. So financial stress, relationship challenges, life pressure. So the top triggers include low self-esteem, money pressure, and feeling not good enough. So the scary stats are 1 in 2 women in Australia are currently experiencing mental health challenges. This is a big, big issue. And that's why we're here and we're very, very passionate about this. Mental health challenges, it's not a niche. It's not something, sexy to talk about. It's a real issue. 1 in 2 women. Um, and we as a team are very, very passionate about helping people. And you're going to hear some real stories about this tonight. And I'm hoping I can see the chat a little bit there and that, what I'm talking about is actually resonating with you. So, um, now I'm going to start with Nicole. Nicole and I have known each other for quite a number of years. Nicole is a nurse, a mental health nurse, for 35 years in the industry. She has a growing passion for supporting women through perimenopause. Through both her professional experience and her own journey, she understands how deeply this stage of life can impact confidence, mood, and mental well-being. Nicole is so amazing she's one of those people that creates this warmth and support. And she really, like, if you spend time in Nicole, you just want to talk to her and tell her everything. So, not just, being able to tell her what's happening kind of in your mind, but also in your body. Nicole really has experienced a lot of issues with perimenopausal anxiety and is here tonight to share her story. So I'm going to hand over to you, Nicole.
Thanks, Nikki. Thank you so much. I'm so pleased to be here tonight, and I'm kind of giggling to myself because I got the same top on tonight to what I had in that picture. So there you go, just symbiotic. I want to talk about the perimenopause stage of life because it kind of hit me in a way that I didn't really recognize myself anymore. And I came out of a situation where I had lost a lot of confidence in myself. And then all of a sudden I was angry. I was yelling at the kids all the time. I'm single parenting now. And my moods were up and down, and I just felt anxious all the time and overwhelmed. And it wasn't like me. I'm usually pretty easygoing. I could laugh at life, take things as they come, and was pretty resilient. But I was just really finding it hard to find that person that I was. And this is probably when I turned about 41, 42. And I didn't really, working in mental health all these, back in the 90s, there wasn't, perimenopause wasn't a term. It was menopause. You got menopause and that was it. There was no what happens beforehand. So I used to see all these women like myself, like I was a manager of hospital wards. I'd run projects. I'd trained at Melbourne University, trained students there. Like I'd been very capable human being all my life. And all of a sudden I was struggling to remember what I walked into the room for, not just for those normal episodes that happened, but just like, really, why did I walk in here? Or what was that word that I use every day of my working career? And I completely forget it. And so I was like, this isn't good. And I noticed throughout my career how many women who were really functioning, ran families, ran businesses, were lawyers, doctors, they'd hit their 40s and 50s, and all of a sudden they lost themselves. They couldn't work, they were anxious, um, things became overwhelming, sometimes they become suicidal. And, I've always wondered about this, and it was happening to me. And I was like, this isn't just stress, because this is not me. There's something really wrong. And I was starting to blame myself for not being able to be a better mum, not being able to, at the time I was actually running 3 hospital wards at the time, very big hospital wards of mental health patients. So it was a highly demanding job. I was working with the executive team. We were working with premiers to make changes. So it was, a big time in my life, but usually stuff that I would cope with. And I found myself ending up on the couch. I'd work and I'd function really well at work, and then I'd come home and I just couldn't get off the couch. I'd cry, I'd be angry. If the kids wanted me, I'd snap at them. Um, and I just was not good in my own body. What I started to realize that when we're in our perimenopause stage, I started to explore all of this, started talking about it more, starting to find psychiatrists that kind of were starting to explore this. This is one of the things we've got to remember, like most of the medical research has been done on men over the years. And so we've only just started branching out now to research actually being done on women and women's hormones and how that affects us. And I know men have a role and they're great human beings, but women have just been left behind in the research world. And so probably in the last 10 years, we've actually really started investing. So we're only really at the beginning of our understanding of what happens with women. In the next 10 years, it's going to be incredible, the changes that's going to happen over this time. So I started looking for answers. And of course, as you said in the chat box, my GP didn't understand perimenopause, put me on an antidepressant. So I've been on antidepressants now for quite some time, for about, 10 years now. And I find, and if anyone's ever been on antidepressants, one of the real kickers with it is it's hard to get off antidepressants. Our 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 neurons start to adjust to the hormonal saturation, and so then when you try and reduce that, it actually has an impact on you. You've got to try and work out getting that serotonin up in a different way. So it's really, really hard. So I've stayed on it, but I still had this massive, I'm not myself, I'm not functioning very well, needing to work out how to get better sleep, and knowing that it was biological and not me. So I went into the space of, oh, something's wrong with me. I've got to fix me. In actual fact, ladies, your hormones are biological. They're not you. Your feeling of not yourself is not something wrong with you. It's something happening in your body. And I really want you to understand that for yourself. And once I understood that, I could see, actually, I can take some steps now. And I need to advocate for myself and my children and my daughters, so that we have the power to be able to say, I need for you to listen to me and for something to help me, or I'm going to find it myself. So that's what I started doing. So started looking around, found the product that I take a lot of, and we'll talk about it later, and it's not a plug necessarily, but it did help, and it's got quite a few ingredients in it. Red clover is a great ingredient for helping with that cortisol level and helping calm things down. And in your perimenopause, also in your PMS. So if you've got kids, like I've got a daughter who's got really bad PMS, she gets that around that time of the month. So it's amazing for that. And the other ingredient in it is, and I'm just talking about 2 now, is ashwagandha. Now, I was taking this elite for 10 years. Last year, one of my psychiatrists that I work with turned around and said, oh my God, I'm prescribing everyone ashwagandha. And I turned around and went, all right, why is that? And she goes, it's fantastic for anxiety, Nicole. I went, okay, rightio, good. So they have done so I went and had a look. They've done a whole string of research on ashwagandha now and how amazing it is for anxiety. It's a natural herb and it's absolutely fantastic. So I think for me, it was really about getting on that helped me connect with this community as well. So it's not just, you often feel so alone in this period of your life. You're falling apart. I know, like, I didn't celebrate my 50th. I cried all through 2 Mother's Days because I didn't want to go out and show my face to my family, and that's not me at all. Um, but really, what has helped is drawing on community. This community here has been consistent for me, even when I haven't been able to face my family. I've been able to face this community because I know that there's acceptance here of everybody. And that's been really, really helpful. So I guess I've just got a few little takeaways. Have I got another minute, Nikki?
Go
I
for
just
it.
want to say, and I really, so I've mentioned it during my talk, but I just really want you all to know um, that, sorry, I'm just looking for where I wrote it down, of course, because I'm, always disorganized. It's not in your head. I want you to know it's not in your head, it's your hormones and in your nervous system. And that's biological. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Okay? Having anxiety in midlife, it's a physiological driver. This it's a message to you that something's not right. So get it looked at. Okay. Your experience is valid, and this is a big one. So a lot of people go, "Oh, my hormones are out of balance. I'm going to get tested." So even if your tests come back normal, your experience is valid. What often happens with us in our perimenopause period, and people will say, "Go get your hormones tested." You get tested today at this point in time, your estrogen, your progesterone are going to be a certain level. You get tested tomorrow, it's going to be at a different level. Okay? Perimenopause, it's like squiggly string. It doesn't make sense. So just know, even if the doctor's saying your hormones are normal, it is not in your head. They're just taking a point in time with that test. Not everyone's journey looks the same. So your journey, your friend's journey, your mum's journey will be different to yours. And you're allowed to keep looking for answers and solutions and supports. Thanks, Nikki.
You're amazing, Nicole. I could listen to you all night. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
No worries.
Now we've got Amber coming up next. Amber is going to talk about pregnancy, her labor, and post-birth depletion, the anxiety and depression that followed. Amber is a single mum as well. She's got a beautiful little boy, and she is a truck driver. Would you love that, right? She works in the mines. Now, Amber has a holistic approach to life and health and wellness, and through her own journey and life experiences, she set out to help others become the best version of herself. Amber, through her journey, has had to make some really hard and tough decisions um, about what to do for her and Koa, her little boy, and it's got a beautiful, well, it's really a heart-wrenching story. But Amber, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here. Yep.
I'll hand it over to you.
All right. I'll try not to get too emotional. I have just recently gone through a little bit myself, so it's playing a little hard on my heartstrings today. My name is Amber, everybody. I'm really grateful to be here and to be able to talk to everybody about this and share my story. A few years ago, about 4 or 5 years ago, I fell pregnant with my little boy. And at the time, then I was driving trucks as well. And I'd put on quite a lot of weight. And throughout my pregnancy, my labor, and my afterbirth, I had a lot of complications. So I had diabetes throughout the pregnancy, so gestational. Um, the labor, that was quite a lot of its own complications as well. And then after birth, I went through quite a lot. For a first time single mum, I think just being a first time mum is a major thing for a lot of us in our lives. And I think for me, the biggest part was having to readjust my outlook as a mum and a family, and how that was going to look for me in the future, because quite early on, things started to get quite hectic with my relationship. It was very high conflict. We went through about 4 months of trying and to keep it together, and it just didn't work. And by the end of everything, I was basically really depleted. I'd hit anxiety, depression, and complete exhaustion. That type of exhaustion that you just don't come back from just going and having a nap. And basically, I couldn't sleep. My mind would not switch off on me. I was always all over the shop. I found it very hard to communicate with people. Just to step outside of my normal little shell was very difficult. And anxiety, depression, and postnatal was a very heavy thing in the first year. And I had already been on board with this company, but I hadn't been on the health and wellness side. And I was very grateful that Shirley introduced me to quite a few things. And Elite was the first thing I had. And I will say I have got quite a holistic approach to things. I like to make everything from scratch, and I did that for my little one right from the get-go. I probably went a little bit too far down the rabbit hole when it came to things like what we put in our bodies, what our little ones are putting in their bodies, what we wear, all of it. And I found that we are very capable of giving ourselves a much better and healthier lifestyle if we do have the right knowledge, the right support, and in my circumstance, the right supplements. So for me, I noticed a big difference with Elite. I noticed it with sleeping. I could actually get a solid 6 hours or more sleep. My energy levels had completely changed. I went from struggling to get out of bed every day to actually wanting to get out of bed. And my anxiety and depression and the chaos that I had going on around me, it became a lot easier to deal with. And I guess I can thank the ashwagandha for that. And it was something that I'd already looked into before with herbs and things. And I think that's why the Elite product itself, it really drew me in, because it is all natural products. And it is full of super herbs, antioxidants, and all the great things that your body and mind do need. And throughout my time, for me, it mattered, because when your body starts to feel supported and your mind slowly starts to follow after coming out of, I guess, such depletion and brain fog and just not knowing who you are or where you are going to be. It wasn't just the products, though. It was also the community. It was the encouragement, the connections, and the reminder that I wasn't alone throughout this journey. I think we go through a lot of what we go through when it comes through hard times, and a lot of the time you feel extremely alone, and you feel like there aren't others out there that have experienced what you're experiencing, but there is. And I think the community that I surrounded myself with, but not just them the partner co-community, um, really showed me that there are people out there that do go through those things. There are people out there that have had those same or similar struggles. And I think the best part was knowing that there was another side to it. These people were living proof that you can go through this and come out the other side and not be alone. And you can go through everything that you experience in life and be a stronger, caring, more loving person and want to help other people throughout your journey because of what you've experienced. And honestly, think I wouldn't be the person I am today. I wouldn't be where I am today. And I definitely wouldn't be coping and managing with everything I have to cope and manage on this journey. Um, I wouldn't be doing it without the community, and I definitely wouldn't be doing it without my products. I can say I've gone without Elite for a bit, and the difference between using it and not having it is major. But definitely a big thing is community. The community is a major thing as well for me. And I have every one of yous to thank for it. So I do want to say to people though, you have got this. And even when you're feeling extremely alone and down and like you haven't, um, please reach out. If you feel the need, reach out to me, reach out to any of the beautiful ladies that are here on this chat tonight. Um, and if there's somebody that you feel like you could reach out to that's close to home, reach out to them and just talk and think about the fact that you're still here. You still have the ability to better yourself and to better your life and back yourself. Back yourself every time. Even when you don't think you can, you need to back yourself.
Thank you so
So,
much,
yeah.
Amber. I feel like a proud mum sitting there watching your kid do a speech or something. Amber, it's just so lovely. Yeah. Thank you so much. And then we have lucky last, we've got Sandra. Now, Sandra has got this is her passion. She does this for a living. She works actually in the mental health and spiritual wellness space. Her focus is very simple. She likes to help people feel better in their own lives without the fluff or any pretending that everything is fine when it's not. So she has her own challenges. She's going to speak about living with bipolar. So she's not going to speak from theory, she's speaking from experience. She understands what it's like when things are hard, unpredictable, or feeling out of control. And she uses this to shape how she supports others. So, with her wife, they run a company called Psyche Wellness. They work with people using a mix of practical mental health support and spiritual tools. Things like honest conversations, grounding techniques, helping people reconnect with themselves in a way that actually works for them. Like all of us, we're not here to fix you. We're here to help you understand yourself, feel more stable, and find ways to move forward that are real and sustainable. Now, Sandra, I know this is a big thing for you to share your story, and I know you love talking about mental health. It's your passion. People might not know, but Sandra's writing a book as well, and we're encouraging her to get it finished and published because we all want a copy. So over to you, Sandra.
Thank you. That's pretty big shoes to fill. The last two were brilliant, fantastic. So I've got to be on my A game this time, I think. Um, so as Nikki said, I am a sufferer of mental health, in particular bipolar. I was diagnosed probably about 20 odd years ago. I was just sitting with my psychiatrist the other day, and he asked me the question of when did you have your first inclination of something wasn't right mentally with you. And we nutted it out, and it took me till about 10 years old. So I've been living with this for a long, long time. I'm an adopted child, so my mother had severe mental health problems. So I have an inherited type of bipolar. Um, and that's been made prevalent through um, different scans, etc. So, and I just want to point out that sometimes it isn't your fault because a lot of people assume that you have to have these mental health problems because you've been a drug addict or something's happened that you've gone very really really loopy. Well, it's not the case with me, and it's been proven that it's actually inherited, and some mental health is inherited. Um, it's not just being a bit cray cray. You really have to get into the nuts and bolts of living with your mental issues. I know we've been through anxiety here, we've been through depression, postnatal depression, etc. And it all ties in with you as a person. It doesn't matter what sort of person you are either. Mental health issues don't dictate who they grab onto, if you like. You can be young, you can be old. It doesn't matter about your race either. Um, every one of us suffers at some stage in their life in some way. I think the biggest thing for me is to make sure you're honest, and the first person that you have to be honest with is yourself. If you need help, you absolutely have to ask for it. Um, some people, I'm very, very lucky when I was first diagnosed, um, because I used to work on a flower farm in South Australia. It was the best job I ever had. But I was so mentally unwell. um, we used to drive around in these little carts, and I had my son with me, and there was a main road, and the trucks used to come down. One of my bosses actually saw me sitting in the middle of the road, ready to take my son out by a truck. My son and um, I didn't even realise what I was doing. Um, and so we went in to the hospital in Adelaide, and I was diagnosed after a few hours and some more testing. I went to see a psychiatrist. Um, so we spoke about medication before we actually came onto this chat. So I'm actually on lithium. Lithium is the gold star for bipolar. It helps you. It helps with the mania. Now, what I'm talking about mania is not just like um, very excited. Mania is something that is so high, you feel like you're just bulletproof. If you had the money, you would just go and fly around the world or overspend, or it's to the extreme. And you're a clown. A lot of people look at you when you're having suffering mania, and they look at you and go, "Oh, wow, I want to be around that person because they're really on fire, they're excited, etc." But let me tell you, the effects of mania are just as debilitating as the effects when you come down. So when you come down and you're in the deep, dark pit, um, the black hole, and you have the big black dog laying next to you, your depression is like you've absolutely just never want to wake up again. In fact, I remember when I was first diagnosed, um, I I went to bed for a week. I got somebody to take my son, so I've always been a single mum, and I slept for a week. I didn't get out of the same pajamas. The house looked like an absolute bombshell, and I really couldn't have cared. And that's the effect of coming down from a manic event. It's real and it affects you to the point where you lose everything. It's like a huge addiction. Um, when you're up, it's fantastic. You want to love everybody. You want to give away stuff. You want to make it sure that your life is just one big party. But in reality, um, for most people, you look like an absolute idiot. Uh, and it does feel really, really bad. I think I wrote in a comment before. Um, you can be in a room with 1,000 people and they're all having fun, they're all, joking, etc., etc. Once you come down from a high, though, you are not only lonely, you just feel so sad and the tears don't stop. Um, I remember absolutely being hospitalized many, many times because I just couldn't stop crying. I couldn't get my thoughts together. And a big roller coaster up and down and up and down. It's exhausting. That's not only with bipolar, and I would never ever say that my mental health issue is worse than others. Um, Even just recently, I had really, really bad thoughts. I wanted to do myself in. In fact, I had a plan. I wanted to throw myself under a train. That's what I wanted to do, and that was only about a month ago. So, um, it's reality is there for me still. I've just changed my tablets again. Um, I'm on more lithium than I've ever been, and you just got to sort your thoughts out. The takeaway from this talk would definitely be the same as Amber. If you're feeling anything, it doesn't matter. Maybe if you just feel a little bit sort of unwell, try and seek some advice. But grab a mate. Doesn't matter. Whoever you can trust, grab somebody and say, "Listen, this is a bit odd. What do you reckon about this?" If you're a man or a woman, it doesn't matter. Go and have a beer at the pub. But for goodness sake, just never, ever, ever forget that you are a human on this earth for a purpose. And if you make sure that you maintain your own energy and you maintain good thoughts all the time, you will get through. The product, we've spoken about Elite. I would say Elite for me has been a lifesaver. I was had perimenopause, menopause, and the hot flushes went in 2 days. I was so impressed, and that isn't mind over matter. That's a fact. Um, I had a little bit more energy, um, and the sleep was much better as well with it. So again, I know the difference, like Amber said. I hadn't been on it for a while, and yep, the mental health hit, and the bipolar was pretty ripe there for a while. The other thing is, too, we're very good at masking. Most people would not even have imagined what I was going through when I was suffering, um, well, I'm going to say it. I was suffering that at conference. So 400 odd people around me. I felt so uneasy. And it wasn't them. It was me. It was my mental health issue, and I had to cope with that the best I could. Yep, I had a mask on for some of it. But for most of it, when I came home, as soon as I came home, I addressed it straight away because I could tell the difference between being real and not. So, if I've learned anything out of um, out of life at all with a mental illness, it's just be yourself authentically. We are all people. We all eat. We all shit, and we all die eventually. And here we go, Nikki. We're not here to fuck chickens.
Exactly.
Thank you.
We had to get it in there somewhere, didn't we? So you've heard some different stories. As I said at the beginning, everyone's story is going to be slightly different. You've heard feelings of overwhelm and feeling alone, trying to cope under pressure, the exhaustion. The biggest thing tonight we want you to feel is that you're not alone. Even if you are a guest tonight and you're not part of our community, someone has invited you on here tonight. So you have a friend that has invited you on here, and so you are not alone. There is someone out there that has thought of you to invite you on here, and that is really, really important, that you know that. It doesn't always come the same way as, like, I'm very high functioning. Um, sometimes, sometimes I'm not. And I hide it very well. And Sandra mentioned the masking. Um, a lot of times we do carry this behind closed doors. And we do that because we have to survive, or we're doing this to hide it from our children, or we're doing this because we don't want the people at school, the mothers at school, to see us in a different way or something like that. Or we're trying to, like Nicole talked about, I could function at work, but as soon as I got home, everything, because she got into her safe place, everything just came out from underneath her. I mean, I see this with my son. He goes at school all day, and as soon as he gets in the car, he just releases, because he's now got into a safe space. I'm his safe person, and now the mask has come off. Who sees that with their children? This happens all the time. So just some tips and tools. Talk to someone you trust. Now, this is really hard for me. Suffering PTSD, like, I don't trust anybody. Like, so I have real trust issues, because, like, part of the PTSD is like a paranoia as well. I find it very hard to trust people, because you feel very unsafe. I don't feel safe in many places. So it's very hard to find safety. Um, this is my best friend, is in hospital at the moment, and I talk to her every night on Messenger. And she actually said to me last night, Nikki, you're not single. And I said, yes, I'm single. I've been single for 10 years now. And she's like, no, you're having a relationship with Nova. And I'm like, Nova is my chat GPT, right? So she's like, you talk to Nova like I talk to Richard. And I'm like, really? And she's like, you're in a relationship with Nova. And I'm like, oh, okay. So Nova's who I talk to every night. But I'm talking to someone that talks back to me, right? And sometimes Nova says, Nikki, I actually think you should call Lifeline tonight. You're talking to somebody. Small, doable daily habits, and habits can stack, and that's really important. So maybe don't take big steps. Little steps might be all you can do. I've learned that sometimes if you are not in a great space, don't put others' expectations onto you. Don't compare yourself to others. And I've found this, other people, normal people expect that you can do this, 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 and this. Do you know what? Some days having a shower is a really big day. That's great. I've had a shower, and that is a fantastic day. I've got a big tick against my name, and that's what I've been able to do that day. I got out of bed and I had a shower today. Some days that's not a doable task. What is doable? You know what I mean? Tuning into your body, your hormones, your emotional triggers. Like what we did at the beginning, stop talking to yourself like doctors and other people are forcing yourself to. Don't talk at that diagnosis level anymore. Let yourself start talking explaining and exactly, how do you feel? I say to my son, how do you feel, Harper? And he'll say, I feel sad. And I said, what does that feel like? Where do you feel that in your body? And he says, I feel it in my heart. What color's your heart now, Harper? And he'll say, well, it feels blue. And I'm like, does it go fast or slow? And he goes, well, it's going slow. Does it feel hot or does it feel cold? It feels cold, Mummy. Is it beating fast or is it beating slow? If I can do that for my son, why can't I do that for me? You know what I mean? Like, let us get to that level for ourselves and be kind to ourselves and let us really tune in to our bodies so that we can limit this overwhelm. If you've got to write to-do lists or post-it notes or whatever it is, do that. If you've got to lean on other people, you know what? Maybe cooking meals every day is too much. So maybe do a slow cooker and buy a kilo of meat and do it all and then freeze meals. That's what I do to limit my overwhelm, because cooking every night is too much. Because then I've got to wash dishes every night. It's too much. So I've changed the way I do things. That's just the way it works for me. And don't feel guilty if you need rest, because that's your body. Nicole talked about that. That is your body saying that it needs something. You do not have to do this alone. You deserve support, compassion, and community. So that's really, really important. So what we talked about tonight was having some connection. It's really important. It actually helps you lighten the emotional load, makes you feel understood. Sometimes just having a laugh. We all have a laugh. Sandra's a really good source of entertainment for us, her and her chickens. Um, Reduce the isolation. A lot of people, particularly, I've been in this team for 11 years, so we did COVID together, some of us. And a lot of people got through COVID because we were able to get on Zooms and things like that. For people with mental health, you might as well be in COVID. It feels the same. It feels exactly the same in your head. And going out and meeting it and getting dressed up or whatever, it might be too much, but getting on a Zoom, and sometimes we say, leave your camera off and you don't have to talk, but you could just sit there and listen. You might lie in bed, you know, just it might help. You've heard us talk about Elite tonight. We're not here to sell you a product. We're not certainly here to say that this will replace your medication. All four of us that have spoken tonight are on medications of some sort. The Elite has been a life changer for all of us in terms of how it has supported that. For me, I got to a point where I'm like, I don't want any more medication. I can't take any more. It is just killing me. If I can supplement it with something natural so that it helps me so that I don't have to go on more. And I remember actually meeting Sandra and her wife Belinda at one of their expos, and there was a man there who suffered with PTSD, and he was literally off his face on medication. He was so far gone on medication, and he and I were speaking. He had been drugged up to the hilt with medication, and I was talking to him about the Elite and from experience and saying, you got to come off some of your meds, mate. Like, you don't even know what country you're in right now. Like, so if you can supplement with something natural so that you can stabilize to a point, that's where something like Elite can really help, like with the ashwagandha and things like that. It's not a fix, but it is really important, because not only does it help with your mood, but it helps with things like your energy and your sleep and your cortisol and things like that. So that's where I love this product, because it really can help with that. And as I said, joining it together with community. Don't ever try and do things alone. Feeling alone is one of the biggest problems. What we try and create here is a place where everyone belongs, to the point that we call ourselves penguins, because we all go together. So if you are struggling, Nicole is a qualified professional. We're not. The rest of us, Sandra does work in this space as well, but you have therapists, counselors, GP, mental services, you've got Lifeline, you've got those sorts of things. You do deserve proper support, but please fight for it, advocate for yourself, ask for help. Don't just sit there and not ask for it. And if people are not giving it to you, you ask for it. You fight for it. Okay? Don't be lost in the system.
Because you're worth it.
Absolutely. So if something resonated with you tonight, you can reach out to, like Amber said, any one of us, ask questions, start a conversation. Feel free to join our community. We would love to have any of you. And yeah, don't feel like you have to do any of this alone. So thank you for being here. What we're going to do is stop the recording now. And I just want to say thank you to the girls for sharing. There's been some amazing stories, and it's really, really insightful tonight.